Uma boa tarde a todos e todas. Sejam bem-vindos e bem-vindas à mesa de encerramento da 5ª Semana Nacional de Arquivos, a SNA. Meu nome é Vicente Rodrigues, eu trabalho na assessoria à Direção-Geral do Arquivo Nacional e tenho a honra de coordenar esta mesa. Estamos agora chegando ao fim, afinal, de 5 dias com centenas de eventos, palestras, mesas redondas, visitas técnicas, apresentações de novas práticas e tecnologias e tantas outras atividades que foram executadas. Cabe destacar que a SNA é uma promoção do Arquivo Nacional em parceria com centenas, mais precisamente 230, instituições que atuam na área de arquivos no Brasil. A cada ano que passa, a SNA se consolida assim como um locus privilegiado para reflexão no campo da arquivologia. No dia de hoje, no qual fazemos a finalização oficial dos trabalhos, teremos uma fala de avaliação da diretora-geral do Arquivo Nacional, Neide Sordi, e, posteriormente, uma palestra de Jerry Simons, especialista da Administração Nacional de Arquivos e Documentos dos Estados Unidos, o famoso NARA. Após a fala de Jerry Simons, ele responderá a perguntas da plateia. As perguntas podem ser feitas utilizando-se o campo de comentários ou chat desta transmissão no Facebook do Arquivo Nacional. Ao fazerem suas perguntas, nós solicitamos que vocês identifiquem, se for aplicável, a instituição a qual pertencem. Por fim, um último aviso. Para aqueles que desejam receber o certificado de participação na semana, as instruções estão disponíveis também no chat do Facebook. Dito isso, eu gostaria de chamar a diretora-geral do Arquivo Nacional, Neide Sordi, para que faça a sua avaliação sobre esta 5ª edição da Semana Nacional de Arquivos. Diretora-geral Neide, a palavra é sua.
Oi, tá tudo certo? Tá, peraí. Costumo falar com vídeo áudio fechado. Bom, boa tarde a todos e a todas. Estamos chegando ao final dessa grandiosa 5ª Semana Nacional de Arquivos, que, como o Vicente disse, reuniu 230 instituições que promoveram 482 eventos. No mundo todo, os arquivos estão mobilizados, comemorando a Semana Internacional de Arquivo, mas eu acredito que a 5ª SNA seja o maior evento dos arquivos no mundo. Pelo 2º ano consecutivo, ela acontece online em razão da pandemia, né? Ai, socorro, pandemia. A nossa programação seguiu o temário do Conselho Internacional de Arquivos, do ICA, Empoderando Arquivos, que também se dá esse empoderamento, né, as palavras-chave selecionadas pelo ICA, né, que foram transparência, accountability, diversidade, inclusão, colaboração em rede. Essa colaboração, esse trabalho em rede, eu repito, considero que essa mobilização, o alto grau de participação da comunidade arquivística, das instituições arquivísticas, esse engajamento é um laboratório, é uma possibilidade que nos possibilitará realizar outros projetos conjuntos, né? Eu agradeço a todos os profissionais e as instituições que promoveram esses eventos, aqueles que assistiram aos eventos e de alguma forma contribuíram para o sucesso da semana. Eu agradeço especialmente as equipes do Arquivo Nacional da COPED, da ASCOM e da direção-geral, nas pessoas dos servidores Silvana, Letícia, Zé Márcio, Vicente, Sérgio e outros colegas. Agradeço aos conferencistas convidados pelo AN. Infelizmente, nós não podemos hoje fazer uma avaliação dos números, da audiência. Isso será feito depois, à medida que as instituições derem o feedback ao Arquivo Nacional, para que nós possamos conhecer qual foi a audiência que cada um desses eventos teve nas suas instituições, né? Bom, hoje contaremos com a colaboração de Jerry Simons, que fará a palestra. A quem agradeço pela generosidade e espírito público de colaborar com o Arquivo Nacional. É a 2ª colaboração que o Arquivo Nacional recebe do Jerry. Os nossos colegas, servidores do Arquivo Nacional, participaram de um curso da Snack School, exclusivo para o Arquivo Nacional, ministrado pelo Jerry e pela sua colega Dina Herbert, né, que quando nós aderimos à SNEC em fevereiro passado. E eu repito o que eu disse na abertura da 5ª SNA. Existe um grande espírito de cooperação e de generosidade entre as instituições arquivísticas e, graças a ele, o Arquivo Nacional pôde contar, né, com o John Sheridan e o Alex Barqueiro na cerimônia de abertura e agora com o Jerry. O Jerry vai nos apresentar a SNEC, Social Network and Archive Contest. É um recurso online gratuito que ajuda os utilizadores a descobrir informação biográfica e histórica sobre pessoas, famílias, organizações e suas ligações umas com as outras. Os utilizadores podem localizar coleções de arquivos e recursos mantidos por instituições do patrimônio cultural em todo o mundo. O SNEC é uma cooperativa internacional, né, que inclui arquivos, bibliotecas e museus, mas não se limitam a essas instituições. E o objetivo da rede cooperativa é o controle de registro de autoridades nessas instituições de memória. Além do Arquivo Nacional, somente 2 outras instituições fora dos Estados Unidos compõem a rede: o Arquivo Nacional da França e o Arquivo Nacional de Ciências Biológicas do Tata Instituto, em Bangalore. Portanto, é uma honra, uma exclusividade do Arquivo Nacional participar e nós ficamos muito agradecidos com essa participação. Então, vamos... Não, só mais uma coisinha. O Arquivo Nacional, ao aderir à rede em fevereiro passado, né, ele começou a contribuir, a colaborar para o enriquecimento dessa organização cooperativa. Nós pretendemos ter os recursos do Arquivo Nacional o mais rápido possível, dentro das nossas possibilidades, inseridos junto, que possam ser recuperados no mundo todo, né? É necessário um controle de registro de autoridades, de produtores e arquivos, né? A elaboração de taxonomias, ontologias. Isso é uma deficiência que o arquivo vai buscar resolver. O arquivo tem que enfrentar essa necessidade em breve, e nós agora já estamos começando com esse projeto, que poderá depois ter desdobramentos em outras atividades igualmente importantes que possam ser utilizado esse registro de controle de autoridade de produtores de arquivos e documentos. Bom, era isso que eu tinha a dizer. Uma boa palestra a todos.
Muito obrigado, diretora. Agora eu gostaria de apresentar o nosso palestrante convidado, o Jerry Simons. Ele atualmente trabalha na Agência de Cooperação Externa do National Archives and Record Administration, o NARA dos Estados Unidos, a SNAC, na Cooperativa de Redes Sociais e Contexto Arquivístico. Com a sua colega Dina Herbert, ele coordena a parceria colaborativa dessa agência com a Biblioteca da University of Virginia, com foco principal no programa de treinamento da Cooperativa de Redes Sociais e Contexto Arquivístico, a Escola da SNEC. Jerry foi um dos membros fundadores da equipe do Museu do Memorial do Holocausto dos Estados Unidos, em Washington, D.C., onde trabalhou como catalogador das coleções de seu arquivo de 1990 até 1999. Ele também é membro ativo da Society of American Archivists, a SAA, desde 1995. Jerry, a palavra é sua, sugerindo-se o tempo de até 40 minutos para a sua apresentação. Obrigado.
Obrigado. Boa tarde, pessoal. Meu nome é Jerry Simons. Sou o representante da Agência Externa dos Arquivos Nacional Estados Unidos para a Cooperativa SNAC. É uma honra e privilégio falar na conferência de hoje. Muito obrigado. Vocês ficaram felizes em saber que restante de mina presencial será en inglés. Before I begin today, I would like to acknowledge the Yamasee people and their indigenous kin and neighbors on whose traditional territories I live and work here in Hilton Head, South Carolina. I acknowledge the continued presence and resilience of indigenous communities and nations today, and thank those with whom I collaborate while undertaking my work for the National Archives and Records Administration of the United States. A bit about my background before I start with the SNAC presentation. From 1990 to 1999, I worked as an archivist and cataloger for the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. I completed my graduate studies at the Catholic University of America's School of Library and Information Science in Washington, D.C. in 1997, then returned to the university as an adjunct faculty member, teaching classes about indexing, abstracting, and special collections management. I began my work at the United States National Archives and Records Administration in January of 2000, leading a team of data standards specialists in researching and writing and editing controlled vocabularies and name authority files for the new Archival Research Catalog, which launched in 2003. In 2009, I first started discussions with Daniel Pitti, then the co-director of the Institute for Advanced Technology in the Humanities at the University of Virginia. Then in its earliest development phase, SAC was not even known as SNAC. It did not have a name yet, and this was still a year before the Society of American Archivists, or the SAA, would formally adopt the EAC CPF, or Encoded Archival Context, Corporate Body, Person, and Family Entity Description Standard. This is an XML schema for the International Standard Archival Authority Record for corporate bodies, persons, and families, and now in its second edition published in 2003. In 2013, I was invited to join the SNAC Advisory Committee, working with other information science professionals to advise the creators of SNAC's technical platform, a project which was at the time a collaboration between the University of Virginia Institute for Advanced Technology in the Humanities and the University of Virginia, and the California Digital Library at the University of California in Berkeley. In 2016, I accepted the position of lead external liaison to the SNAC cooperative for the United States National Archives and Records Administration. At all times, I work in partnership with my immediate colleague, Dina Herbert, in all SNAC projects. So more about SNAC and what it is. SNAC, or the Social Networks and Archival Context, is a free online resource that helps users discover biographical and historical information about persons, families, and organizations that created or are documented in historical resources or primary source documents and their connections to one another. Users can locate archival collections and related resources held at cultural heritage institutions around the world. SNAC is an international cooperative, including but not limited to archives, libraries, and museums that are working to build a corpus of reliable descriptions of people, families, and organizations that link to and provide a contextual understanding of historical records. The University of Virginia and the National Archives and Records Administration co-lead the SNAC cooperative now, which now counts 51 institutions among its members. Among the newest member institutions is the Arquivo Nacional Brazil. Of course, University of Virginia and the National Archives can't do this work all alone. The cooperative leaders rely upon a number of SNAC partner representatives for a full collaboration at all times to successfully run the cooperative program in SNAC. SNAC's management is as follows. A group of 4 collaborators who are representatives of the leading partner institutions serve as the SNAC administrators. These partners are Daniel Pitti and Joseph Glass, who both work for the management under the management of the University of Virginia's Albert and Shirley Small Special Collections Library. Daniel has long been a leader in the archives field, especially in the areas of description data standards. Joseph Glass serves as the lead technical developer who works nonstop to enhance SNAC's editing interface for editors in the SNAC's public-facing search engines. As the external liaison to SNAC, Jerry Simmons, that's me, and my colleague Dina Herbert work as a 2-person team at all times on a number of advisory and outreach projects. First and foremost among these is the administration of the SNAC school. Excuse me. Dina and I work internally to integrate National Archives staff into our active SNAC editing, but also focus energy and time outward for educating all new SNAC editors through the SNAC school. Excuse me. SNAC work is also guided by the cooperative efforts of 4 working groups: editorial standards, communications, technical infrastructure, and research and reference. In the earlier planning phases of SNAC, SNAC School was a working group as well, but now it is in its 4th year of regular training sessions. SNAC School is considered a fully operating component of cooperative programs and services. The editorial standards working group includes editing partners from around the cooperative who work to identify and resolve needs for specific guidance and policy to guide the creation and editing of SNAC data. The communications working group has the mission to inform the cooperative partners as well as interested parties worldwide about all SNAC activities and events through a monthly newsletter and announcements on Twitter. The technical infrastructure working group handles any and all projects to enhance the SNAC editing interface for organic data creation and editing, but also develops special plug-in features to aid in data contribution from other platforms via OpenRefine. The newly formed Research and Reference Working Group is tasked with responding to SNAC inquiries for help via the search engine. This group is also collaborating with the SNAC School team to develop a special training module to teach SNAC users how to utilize SNAC as a research tool and how to use SNAC as a reference resource in archives and library reading rooms when assisting the research public. Finally, the SNAC School team. Establishing this team was my first task after taking the position as the lead liaison at the National Archives. Along with Dina Herbert, this team consists of collaborating partners from the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, the George Washington University Library, the Getty Research Institute in Los Angeles, the Fred Smith Library at George Washington's Mount Vernon Historic Site, Eastern Carolina University, University of Miami in Florida, and the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. Together, we work to deliver a monthly SNAC School event, welcoming editors, trainees from all SNAC's member institutions. The training covers basic archival authority control and all aspects of creating, editing, and managing SNAC data. The SNAC school team also works to present special focus training programs. For example, a special session of SNAC school presented to the staff of the Arquivo Nacional de Brasil in March of 2021. I will make a note that it was happily my new colleague in Rio, Christina Ruth Santos, who trained on her own during February of 2021. And that led to a very special training session for the entire archive staff in March. I want to also give a special thanks to Christina and to Sergio Miranda de Lima for their support and cooperation while preparing for the Brazil training event. Hopefully, one day I will join them in the same room for further collaboration. Now let's have a closer look at what SNAC can do. I'll present a few slides to illustrate, and then I'll turn to a live demonstration of SNAC using an example recently prepared by Christina Santos. Here we see that the SNAC experience starts with a simple search for an entity, which is a person name, an organization name, also referred to as a corporate body, or a family name. Initially, a user can filter their search for one of the entity types specifically, or for a broader search of all the entity types. In this example, I'm using the name of the famed Brazilian architect, Oscar Niemeyer. After activating the search, SNAC returns closest matches for the search criteria, featuring the full preferred name heading, which usually includes the person's life dates. Then a number indicating the number of links to archival collections found via Niemeyer's record. And we see his full name heading here. And then the number in parentheses indicates the number of archival collections his SNAC record can link to. This slide illustrates how SNAC lists and organizes all linked archival material descriptions under the Resources tab. Here we have for Heiter Villalobos records, his SNAC record, that is. Clicking the green View Collection Locations feature activates a map showing the location of the specific holding repository where the collection is stored. When the live demonstration starts, I can show more of these features in detail and show how they allow users to move between SNAC records inside the system and how one can navigate out to descriptions of archival materials at the repositories. I should mention here that when available, SNAC will present an image of the entity. Here, a photo of Villalobos, an image which is free of copyright restrictions, sourced from Wikidata by connecting the SNAC record ID number to the Wikidata entry for Villalobos. Linking entities to their related archival collections descriptions is one powerful feature of SNAC. Another is linking between entities, persons to persons, persons to families, corporate bodies to persons, etc., in the context of a specific relationship. In this example on the slide, we see a contextual relationship made between SNAC records for Berta Lutz and her father, Adolfo Lutz. This contextual linking method utilizes a set of relationship types, which are a part of the EAC CPF standard I spoke of earlier. In this example, we can see the contextual relationship described as parent of and child of, with Adolfo's and Berta's records side by side. I was hoping to check the chat before I go on to the demonstration.
Eu acho que você pode já fazer a demonstração, depois a gente parte para as perguntas. Se eu entendi direito, Jerry.
Okay. Thank you. It's great to hear from you again. The silence was a bit unnerving. Okay, I will be back on track in 2 seconds. So we're going to have a closer look, as I promised, at the Bertolutz snack record and further explore her connections in snack. Excuse me. But again, before I start on Berta's record, I would like to again acknowledge that Cristina Ruth Santos at Arquivo Nacional de Brasil was the person who authored or wrote this snack record. So, ótimo trabajo, Cristina. Very good work. Once you approach the snack website, and here's the address, you can filter to search specifically for persons, a corporate body, or a family name, or you can simply leave it set at all types. Apologies. So I've gone to the snack website, snackcooperative.org. This is free, open information. Yes.
Desculpe interrompê-lo, mas acho que aconteceu alguma parada no compartilhamento. Você pode verificar se está compartilhamento? Ah, parece que já voltou agora. Desculpa a interrupção.
No worries. Thank you. You approach the Snack Cooperative website here with this address. You are given opportunities to do a keyword search, a browse search, which would be in an alphabetical arrangement. So I would do Lutz. For some reason, I see that there's an extra one coded as a corporate body, but that is clearly a small data glitch, and I will repair that soon. But once you've found, or you can browse an alphabetical listing of all the names in the system, Snack will land you on the very closest one to your search. And you click there, and here we see the record. It asks me always to, because the biography note for Bertolutz was prepared in Brazilian Portuguese by Cristina Santos. It always wants me to do a translation, so I'll turn that off now. And I mentioned earlier with the example with the musician, the composer Villa-Lobos, that the free, copyright-free images linked from Wikidata oftentimes populate the records in Snack. Unfortunately, the image for Bertolutz that you see on her Wikipedia article is a really good photograph of her, but through the Wikidata link, it's only giving the free image of what appears to be, I think I've seen a closer image, and it's her name on a street sign. I guess the street is dedicated to her, but sadly, this is the only free image that comes with her Snack record right now. So, just a quick tour of the Snack record. On the first tab, we have the biography. Note that this is in Portuguese, so Snack is equipped to accept a number of foreign languages in its create and edit mode. The next tab is a list of all of the collections or archival holdings that are linked to Berta's record here in Snack. I had a slide earlier of the View Collection Locations feature, but I want to demonstrate it live here. So once you click there, it presents a map. It retains the list of the archival collections that are linked to her. And again, here is the contextual part, because context is a huge part of what SNAC does. Excuse me. Referenced in creator of are some very popular ones. Excuse me. But to look at the map more closely, we provide, or SNAC provides, a pin drop feature, so you can click there and see exactly which repository it's identifying. And we can make this a bit bigger. And then there's the pin drop for the National Archives of Brazil. Because she is, says she's creator of, but I think she's mentioned in just a subject of this collection. We also have collections for her linked in American institutions. This is the link for the Schlesinger Library at Harvard. There's one up here. I think that's the only one, is the Harvard one. And then you see, once you click the pin drop, it tells you the name of the repository, clearly where it's located on the map. This is at Harvard University near Boston. And then it gives you a detailed description of the archival collection where she's mentioned as a reference or a subject. And then one of the two greatest powers SNAC possesses is to move a user from the SNAC record immediately to the description of the archival materials. And just that one click takes us to the finding aid at the Schlesinger Library at Harvard University. Go back from there. And here we see the collection for the Federacia. Again, I will apologize. I should have practiced my Brazilian pronunciation for these. But this collection, if you click there, it takes you to the description, or the archival description or finding aid for that collection that's housed at the National Archives in Brazil. So that's where we see SNAC's power to link entities, a person in this case, contextually to that person's archival collections, their personal papers, or other cultural heritage materials related to that person. The next step are the relationships. Here we see the list of entities to which Berta Lutz has been associated or linked. Adolfo Lutz, we remember, we saw the example in the slide. She is the child of. She was a correspondent with Michael A. Spencer, who has a collection of scientific materials in the United States. According to her Wikipedia article, she was an employee of the National Museum of Brazil. She also corresponded with William B. Provine, and she corresponded with Doris Stevens, who was, an activist. So through her relationships to both corporate bodies and to persons, we can also find out more about the context of how these two persons are related. If we click here on the going to and from symbol on the right, we see that the contextual link between Berta Lutz and Doris Stevens is that, excuse me, Berta Lutz has been referenced in the papers of Doris Stevens. And then again, you click here and it takes you to the collection at the Schlesinger Library. If you click on one of the references themselves under the names column, SNAC will move you to that record, and then you can continue to explore from there. Her father so far has no archival resources attached to him. So that's a task to take up for anyone interested in taking up that task to edit this record. And then under his list of relationships, we see the one contextual relationship described to Berta herself, and we click there, and we simply move back to Berta's record. Other contextual information about the entity is that you can assign geographic places. This is a less refined aspect of SNAC at this point. It has not been refined further, but you can expand or expand the map and just click on the pin drop to see that this is signifying Rio de Janeiro. In the record, I think it is designated as her birthplace. It's also designated as her place of death. And then you can explore subjects. We have a number of control vocabularies in SNAC, one for topical subjects, one for geography or place names, one for occupations, and then another for functions related to corporate entity work. Excuse me. Here we see a list of topical subjects or occupations that have been assigned to, subjects assigned to Berta's SNAC record. And then on this is a list of occupations associated with her. Further down on the SNAC record on the right, we see a feature called related descriptions. This indicates links to descriptions of Berta Lutz in other authority files. So we can click here and move to the VIOF, the Virtual International Authority file record for Berta Lutz. Same thing can happen in Wikidata. There's a much better photograph of her through Wikidata. And then to the Bibliothèque Nationale de France, because many of the major national archives have authority records for these people as well. And we'd like to link to those so that users can explore further outside SNAC. And then, of course, to the Library of Congress. The permalink, which we used, you can embed links into documents and slideshows and other materials by simply taking the permalink for Berta Lutz's record and embedding it elsewhere. The sources for this record mainly represent, there are two. One from the Senado Federal website in Portuguese, and then a citation to her Wikipedia article, which is in English, of course. Well, it's in English because an English-speaking person added it. That would be me. Christina Santos added the one that's in Portuguese. So that is a tour of how SNAC works. And that really does conclude my presentation, as this is the end of the live demonstration. I will hop back just briefly to my slides. And do a quick present again to say, if you would like to become a member of SNAC or learn more about potential membership, you can visit the website at the link you see here. And then if you have any questions after our question and answer period today, you are free to contact me at jerry.simmons@nara.gov. And once again, muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado, Jerry, pela apresentação. Nós estamos coletando agora as perguntas aqui no chat e por outros canais. Agradecer a apresentação de uma ferramenta realmente muito interessante para a área de arquivos. Eu gostaria de fazer uma pergunta minha a respeito do Slack. Sobre a questão, a gente tem no Brasil, e eu acredito que é uma questão global, na verdade, ela chega ao Brasil mais ou menos recentemente, que é a questão da proteção dos dados pessoais, que é a questão do acesso à informação e de como essas duas coisas se combinam. Eu sei que a Snack, ela digamos, refere materiais externos, né? Mas ela também traz alguns elementos que são próprios dela, de descrição, de informação. Como é que vocês trabalharam essa questão, ou se ela não é pertinente, na sua opinião, a uma ferramenta dessa natureza? Porque no Arquivo Nacional nós temos constantemente buscado construir ferramentas, não com essas características, né? Nós estamos aderindo agora, mas constantemente nós buscamos construir ferramentas e somos sempre, digamos, premidos a levar em consideração essas temáticas como proteção de dados e questões legais referentes ao acesso à informação. Se você pudesse falar um pouco a esse respeito.
Yes, we do have many discussions among the SNAC administrators and the working groups that govern SNAC about the protection of what we refer to here in the States as PPI, or private personal information, and how we are in ways responsible for not violating the trust of anyone's personal private information. We make very clear to our editors that they are to include no PPI in their SNAC descriptions, especially in the biographies. The biography is the element that displays very first on this when the SNAC record is located. You would never add a person's here we have the social security number, that kind of data, or a person's address or a phone number. We never, ever encourage anyone to add that. And our team of reviewers, I'm one of the reviewers, as we train people in SNAC school, we read all of their records and we evaluate them and respond to them, giving them review comments. And if we were to see any kind of this personal private information included, we would insist that they remove it. It is not our policy to display any personal and private information.
Perfeito, muito obrigado pelo esclarecimento. Eu tenho uma outra pergunta aqui, Jerry, que é a seguinte: o SNAC, como você apresentou, ele pretende funcionar como uma espécie de colaboração em rede de seus associados. Há alguma previsão de se receber ou de se criar alguma ferramenta ou mecanismo que permita colaborações espontâneas que posteriormente fossem validadas por um comitê ou, enfim, por alguma instância diretiva do SNAC?
I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Eu vou tentar reformular. O SNAC ele faz parcerias com instituições e organizações para integrar esses dados, essas informações. No caso de uma colaboração espontânea, digamos que a pessoa não seja associada, mas queira trazer dados ou informações, vocês têm uma ferramenta ou alguma diretiva para apreciar esse tipo de cooperação espontânea? Porque a interação hoje não, né, há muito tempo, a interação desses mecanismos na internet, ela cada vez mais demanda esse tipo de coisa em relação ao usuário que está, enfim, interessado no assunto.
Okay, thank you for restating that. We have a routine and oftentimes quite spontaneous collaborative approach to anyone who approaches the contact SNAC, usually me or Daniel Pitti at the University of Virginia Library, with a question or a proposal to do some kind of collaboration. examples of that would be working with, most recently, the History Makers project. Can I drop that in the chat?
Claro. E a gente tenta projetar aqui. Eu vou pedir
The History Makers is a vast collection of oral history testimonies related to slavery, enslaved persons, enslaved African stories in the United States during the slave years. That group, the History Makers, approached Daniel Pitti and requested that before they become full editing members of the cooperative and before they join any of the working groups or any of the other tasks or projects going on, that they simply be able to contribute their data, their descriptive data about the persons in the History Makers project to the system. And the answer was yes. We would never say no to any, I can't imagine saying no to a collaboration project that would bring that type of or level of diversity and, something that's not, we say this all the time, something that's not dead white people into the SNAC cooperative as far as the data goes. Having the History Makers material come into the database means that we have a much richer depth of information about persons of color. Excuse me. So then that started as a very sort of spontaneous idea, but now that is something that we welcome people to do. The technical infrastructure team of SNAC has developed, and I think I mentioned it at one point, an open refine plugin feature so that descriptive data about people, families, or corporate entities that institutions have stored in their local systems can be easily filtered through Open Refine and transformed into one of these EAC CPF records, which then can be very quickly added to SNAC. Other examples of spontaneous collaboration, and that are, once they're spontaneous in the beginning, but then they've become very developed projects. In 2019, my colleague Dina Herbert attended a wiki conference, and she met two archivists from Harvard University who worked for the Peabody Museum. Together, they sat down very spontaneously for a dinner break at a conference, and the people from Harvard said, "We have an interesting project we would like to try with SNAC." And Dina said, "Perfect, let's hear it." And it was the idea that they form a consortium of archivists and librarians who are in the care, or who have the care of, archival collections that were created and donated by museum curators. And those specifically were curators of objects related to Native American Indians or indigenous peoples of North America, and I guess really everywhere, North, Central, and South America, and persons of color, because there are a lot of archaeological collections at the Peabody Museum where there is a rich amount of information and primary documentation about indigenous peoples, but the records are sealed or kept in the context of the personal papers of curators of museums. So that idea started to move forward. And in April of 2020, so just over a year ago, that small group, Dina, it was Catherine Satriano of the Peabody Museum and Irene Gates at the Harvard Law Library, and then I was lending support to it, staged an editathon. I don't know if that's a common expression where you all are. It is edit-thon. So a group of or people with similar interests getting together to pinpoint records in SNAC that need to be developed and have a greater amount of description and links to the collection's descriptions. And we did that with about 30 or 40 editors. We gave them a special SNAC school to prepare them for this. And then for 3 days in April of 2020, we had an editathon where Dina and I sort of sat back and watched people actively edit records about these subjects in SNAC. That has now moved on and grown into a larger collaboration with the University of Maryland's iSchool, specifically a project by Dr. Diana Marsh. The project is called Restoring Indigenous Authority. And we have just recently begun collaborating with, very recently, with tribal archivists, librarians, and museum professionals representing a number of Native American organizations. And this will build into yet another editathon planned for later in 2021.
Perfeito, Jerry. A gente tem a expressão aqui sim, no Brasil, aqui em português brasileiro, pode ser maratona de edição, ou então editatona, como fica em português. Obrigado pelas informações, muito interessantes. Eu tenho mais algumas perguntas, Jerry, só mais um momento, enquanto eu compilo aqui. Uma usuária está perguntando, uma pessoa da nossa audiência, está perguntando se o SNAC atua com eixos temáticos de interesse, ou seja, se ele pensa lançar, por exemplo, campanhas em temas determinados, por exemplo, música brasileira, e a partir daí registrar as autoridades. Não sei se eu me fiz entender perfeitamente. Primeiro uma campanha temática em relação, por exemplo, à música, e depois descobrir quem são as autoridades na matéria.
I think that I understand the question, and yes, we do pay attention, a great deal of attention to the subject of the materials that are related to the entities specifically, because SNAC isn't actively editing archival descriptions like or creating finding aids or catalog descriptions about the archives materials. We apply the controlled topical subject headings to the entities. I think the example for, pardon me while I look at, I'm going to look at Bertha's record one more time so I can see the controlled vocabulary subject headings used for her were feminism, public administration, suffragio, which I think is suffrage in Portuguese, and then women congresses and rights of women. So those are headings that most likely have resulted from an ingest of subject headings from the Library of Congress subject headings. So we do provide, Vicente, can I share my screen one more time? Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. If I go to the search, you have a lot of options for making your search very specific. You can do person. You can make SNAC search within the text of the biographies, which is helpful. If you turn on the advanced search, you can do a combination, like here, you can do a combination of terms that would make your search more specific. But you can also do a faceted search and add, if I add chemistry, and if I add chemist as an occupation, I won't add a function. You could look for a name that comes close to this. See if that search note. But here you can see that you can search on a name, but you can also add specific subject and occupation control vocabulary to help accelerate the search towards something more specific. I hope that that answers the question adequately.
Sim, respondeu de forma bastante clara, Diego. Eu tenho mais 3 perguntas aqui da plateia, e eu vou fazer elas individualmente, uma por uma. O Arquivo Nacional do Brasil ele tem uma presença muito forte nas redes sociais. Então, ele tem, talvez seja, atualmente, o Arquivo Nacional mais seguido no mundo. A diretora Neide, ela pergunta se há alguma lista de cursos para que nós divulguemos por esses canais.
A list of courses? I'm not quite sure what we mean.
Cursos do SNAC, produzidos por vocês, conteúdo de vocês para usuários que estejam interessados na operação de ferramentas como essa.
The best way to learn more about educational materials that we provide for not only to learn more about SNAC, I'm now going to the SNAC, what we call the SNAC portal, our web portal for all things about SNAC. Under SNAC School, we have a list of the modules we teach during SNAC School. So Introduction to SNAC, Authority Control Basics, Create and Edit, Source and Cite, Resource Cache Management, which is a feature where we can manipulate the data about archives collection finding aids that are stored in SNAC, and then how to merge SNAC records together when they're duplicated. Now, I think that this might be answering the question, is that these are courses or educational materials that we've developed internally in the cooperative. We also have what we call extra training materials. And these are PDF documents that give more in-depth instruction and examples, especially to the kind of information we teach during the SNAC School. Because SNAC School only lasts for about 6 hours, we can't cover everything in very serious detail. So Dina and I have developed this cadre of additional materials to help SNAC School editors see more examples and experience more detailed exposure to the system than they would. For example, this is a list of person name components with, as you can see, a number of examples and ways to bring names together, how to devise the elements, because some of them are not very straightforward. Like the name here, and I have the cursor under, for J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of the Lord of the Rings series. Preparing a name heading for him would not be very intuitive at all for a beginning authorities cataloger. So there was a need to provide more examples than what we could cover in SNAC School. Here's the same information for corporate bodies, components that go into the names, and then also some examples for families. We also have what we call editing cheat sheets. So the cheating is like looking at your, cheating on a test, but this is the kind of cheating that's good. And it is a walkthrough of how to properly add components for different types of SNAC records. And we have them done, one for persons, one for corporate bodies, and one for families. So these are the types of additional educational materials we've developed along the way.
Perfeito, Jerry. Acho muito interessante a referência a esse material suplementar, para que as pessoas no Brasil possam acessar e conhecer tanto a parte mais básica que você expôs lá, como também esse material mais profundo e material extra. Uma outra pergunta que se faz aqui, essa pergunta vem do Sérgio Miranda de Lima, ele pergunta sobre outras iniciativas que você acredita que são relevantes, que estão sendo produzidas no escritório de inovação do NARA, além do SNAC.
In addition to SNAC, in the Office of Innovation at the National Archives is a program called History Hub, which is a collaborative project between National Archives staff and public researchers who collaborate with the National Archives staff to further identify and describe collections held at the National Archives. The collections at the National Archives are voluminous and vast. We have records stored all over the United States, from Seattle, Washington to Los Angeles, to Atlanta, Georgia, to Boston, Massachusetts. I'm sorry, my dog is pestering me. And so there's so much stuff. We have in recent years started partnering with the public as researchers to help us describe and sort of figure out, untangle, as it were, issues with our records. Another innovative project going on in the Innovation Office is the Daily Document Program, which is run as a social media feature where every day a new document is shared. The success of people responding to these things, people who follow the National Archives on Twitter would see this. That's a very intensive project for a couple of people that run that on a regular basis. And the most recent, the biggest thing that's going to happen in the next year or two is the rollout of the digitized version of the 1950 federal census for the United States. Prior federal census have been digitized and put online mostly through ancestry.com, but the 1950 census is the latest one to come as a rollout. So that's where a lot of the energy in the Office of Innovation is being spent.
Perfeito. Nossa última pergunta registrada aqui na verdade, um comentário. Deixa eu só localizar que eu me perdi momentaneamente. Achei. É o seguinte, esse é um comentário da Aluf Albelias, do Arquivo Nacional. Ela comenta o seguinte a respeito. Ela observou que o SNAC é uma iniciativa que atende e contribui com instituições de memória, e, portanto, não somente com arquivos, conectando as autoridades e seus relacionamentos. É essa a intenção dos idealizadores do SNAC, ou seja, não é uma questão somente para os arquivos, mas para instituições de memória de forma mais ampla?
I find that to be one of the most fascinating aspects of SNAC, is that we are not just limited to the access or creating access between the entity records and traditional archival materials. We do, in fact, collaborate and work regularly with folks in museums. We have one of our biggest partners in SNAC, and they have been our partners since the very beginning, is the Smithsonian Institution. All of their museums, libraries, and archives are by default partners in SNAC. And I have recently been in touch with Nancy Kennedy, starting talks about exploration of linking SNAC records from the SNAC record to actual objects, artifacts held at the Smithsonian Institution. And I'm trying to think of one that we may have experimented with recently, and I forget now what they were starting to work with. There were an example of a polar explorer from Norway named Bernd Balken. Sorry about I'm stumbling over the name because it's Norwegian. Bernd Balken was the first person, he was an aviator, so a pilot, and he was the first person to fly a plane from one side of Antarctica to the other successfully. That plane is housed in the National Museum of Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. Bernd Balken's snack record has a link to a photograph of that plane in the museum on display. So, artifacts, it's something that I am even more interested in after having spent 10 years at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. And I know that there's so much more out there information-wise about an entity, a person, family, or corporate body that may not be in their personal papers, in their letters or their telegrams or correspondence or their photographs. It could very well be there's a lot to be learned from that person's three-dimensional objects, and that's something that I look forward to exploring more and more in the future.
Muito interessante esse aspecto que você menciona. Eu lembro que aqui nós temos um arquivo estadual, que é do estado de Pernambuco. Não sei se você conhece a referência ao estado de Pernambuco, é um estado no nordeste do Brasil, da parte mais ensolarada, digamos, do país, e mais quente, né, e mais seca. Mas o fato é que esse arquivo...
Sounds nice.
Parece bom. Esse arquivo, ele tem... Naturalmente, os arquivos eles não guardam, em regra, objetos tridimensionais, né? Mas esse arquivo ele tem, junto a alguns documentos da década de 40, alguns objetos de um espião nazista apreendido no Brasil durante a guerra. E é interessante que tem
Nazi spy.
a Nazi Spy aqui no Brasil. E era um espião interessante porque ele veio espionar e trouxe até o uniforme. Então, quando a polícia brasileira chegou a ele, foi, digamos, muito difícil dele negar a participação na espionagem. Mas o fato é que esses objetos, né, eles dão um contexto forte para aquela documentação, e eu acho que isso é um aspecto interessante, realmente, do SNAC e das possibilidades de expansão. Jerry, eu gostaria de agradecer. Yes. Você quer fazer algum comentário final?
As I was listening to Vicente's last bit there, I remembered a really good example of this. Would you indulge me for one more screen share?
Claro.
And then I will say a final
claro.
thing. The snack record I have here, I have been working on this snack record. It was one of the most fascinating things I had ever done. I did it about 5 or 6 years ago when snack was just beginning to gain its momentum. Camilla Louise Wills is, or was, a nurse. She was a nursing student and she graduated from the University of Virginia in 1918, just at the end of World War I. It turns out that her personal papers are found at the University of Virginia School of Nursing. So there's an example of how we jump to a finding aid for someone's personal papers at the University of Virginia. Now, the other item on her resources list in her snack records says records of the American National Red Cross, 1881 to 2008, because again, the collections at the National Archives of the United States are very large. World War I uniforms, then Camilla Wills Army Nurse Corps coat. We click there, and that takes you to a description of her Army coat, which is housed, I think, unusually at the National Archives. People think the National Archives is mostly about papers, photographs, maps, other traditional archival materials, but we do have a significant number of artifacts. Now, I was looking closer and closer, and let me see if I can get to it. I'm sorry, I without having practiced this, I'm not going to be able, I bet I won't be able to do it. There is a series of photographs that are not digitized, unfortunately, here. But if you go to the University of Virginia Nursing School site, you can see a photograph of Camilla Wills wearing her coat. And that coat is stored at the National Archives in College Park, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. And that type of connection between a person's story, so her biography, and then her entire collection of personal papers that contains a photograph of her wearing the big wool coat that nurses wore during their Army service in World War I. And then the National Archives actually has that object. That's the kind of, as we say in here, mind-blowing stuff that I love to explore when I'm working with SNAC. So I could also, if on another occasion, I could talk about my research just in SNAC with the connections between polar exploration, polar explorers, and expedition leaders. That's an entirely different session, but I will say there's so much more to explore.
Literalmente, sem fazer nenhum trocadilho, adiciona uma outra dimensão a essa exploração nos arquivos. Jerry, estamos chegando ao final aqui da nossa apresentação. Eu gostaria de agradecer enormemente a você pela disponibilidade, em nome da diretora-geral do Arquivo Nacional, Neide Sordi, pela disponibilidade, pela gentileza de apresentar o SNAC para a gente. Eu tenho certeza que é uma ferramenta, a despeito de todos os méritos que eu já vejo nela, que ela tem um potencial ainda, digamos, inexplorado, no sentido de que ainda a ser desenvolvido. Ela parece uma ferramenta em crescimento ainda, e essa é um aspecto muito interessante de ver uma iniciativa dessas, que já tem muita coisa para mostrar, e também você consegue vislumbrar o desenvolvimento dela no futuro. Então, agradecer muito a sua gentileza de apresentá-la para a gente, dizer que certamente o Brasil é um campo rico para a expansão dessas ligações, desses enlaces, né? Nós temos um vasto e relativamente complexo sistema de arquivos aqui no Brasil, com vários desafios, e a utilização de tecnologias modernas como essa, né, eu creio que nos permite avançar e, enfim, superar...
This has been my pleasure. Very exciting to prepare this presentation, and it has been my privilege to speak with you all today.
Perfeitamente. Muito obrigado, então. Eu gostaria de agradecer também a todos os técnicos do Arquivo Nacional envolvidos, a nosso setor de acesso e difusão, nossas equipes que trabalharam diretamente no evento da Semana Nacional de Arquivos e na articulação com outras instituições, a todos os nossos palestrantes que tão gentilmente cederam seus tempos e seus conhecimentos para o Arquivo Nacional, e a empresa Prisma, que também atuou aqui fazendo essas transmissões, as nossas valentes tradutoras que atuaram aqui com todos os nossos convidados internacionais, e principalmente aos senhores e senhoras que nos prestigiaram durante esses 5 dias de eventos da 5ª edição da Semana Nacional de Arquivos. Até a 6ª edição, um abraço a todos.